All right. All right. Welcome back to the channel. It's Coach Scott, and we'll be heading into prayer and manifestation. It'll be part 2 of the series on prayer and manifestation. But before we jump in, if you are seeking a consultation or a coaching session, and you can hit me at I can be reached at www.lifeis for the number 4 theliving.net. And as always, the 4 is soul, spirit, mind, and body. All right, so jumping in. All right, so your ability for effective prayer and manifestation comes with several key factors. Number 1 is going to be your ability to focus. And when I say focus, that's going to be visualizing what you want and feeding the vision, giving it life and energy, and also being able to hold the vision. And with that, having time on a daily basis, having time and also making time, because you're the one that's trying to manifest. So you have to make time for whatever you're trying to create, whatever you're trying to bring into your life. You have to make time for it. Whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you have to put the time into it. You have to feed your vision, what you're trying to create, what you're trying to manifest. You have to do that. If you don't do that, you're going to be wasting your time, and probably wasting somebody else's time, especially if it's like a if it's like a group venture. So it's very important. It's very important to have your vision, to hold your vision, and to give it life. It's very important to do that. Secondly, is awareness. And when we say awareness, being aware of your divine potential. Whether you accept it or not, we are sparks of the source. Some people say source, the universal prime creator, God, whatever you choose to call it, we are sparks of that. And when it comes to being aware of your divine potential, you have to proclaim that awareness. Also through affirmations and strong thought forms. And it's just, that comes with time. That comes with, now when I say time, I'm not talking about years from now. I'm not saying that. When I say that, time, you have to make time for that. You have to make time, you got to test it. You have to test your own divine potential. Let's see. For me, when it came to me being aware of my divine potential, what helped me out, there was a series of books called The Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East by Baird T. Spalding. Show you guys. Okay. There it is. The Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East by Baird T. Spalding. There are 6 volumes in this set of books, small, but I came across those particular books. It was during a phase of my life when I really began questioning some of the guidance I was receiving at that time. At that time, the teacher I was learning from at that time, he had made the statement, "You won't find this truth anywhere else that I'm presenting." And when he made that statement, I deep down inside, I was just like, nah, like that. Nah, I just knew deep down that couldn't be true. So he made that statement. I remember that I was sitting there. I'm in the class, and I'm just sitting there like, hmm. So I prayed that I could find the truth that the teacher was presenting elsewhere, because I'm just like, no, I don't think that could be said. But the funny part was when he made that statement, there was a Buddhist that was actually visiting the class that day, the setting. And I remember the Buddhist said, he said, "No, that's not true, man." He said, "Somewhere right now in the world, whether it be a Christian group, a Muslim group, or a Hindu group," he said, "someone else is teaching what you're teaching." And I remember the teacher saying, "Oh, okay, I can accept that," but you could tell by the way he said it that he didn't accept it. It was, and I was like, okay, all right. So for that next month, what I did, I'm looking at my notes here. For that next month, I actually, like I said, first I prayed about it. I was just like, nah, man, nah. I couldn't accept that. And, I prayed to the source. I was like, hey, like, I need you to show me this truth that he's teaching. I need you to show me. Like, I need to see it in every other form outside of this one. I needed to see that for myself. So at this time, man, I would go. I used to love to go to Books a Million and Barnes and Nobles. And at that time, man, both stores had great metaphysical sections of the store. I mean, some of the books I found at that time, I haven't been able to find again, and some of them they are like, woo, like the prices on Amazon is crazy for those books now. But at that time, I found what he was teaching. Uh, I found it in the Buddhist information. I found it in the Sikh information, the Sikhs and the Hindus. Um, it was an Indian restaurant I used to go to. Uh, I can't even remember the name, but at this time I was living in Columbia, South Carolina at this time, and they were Sikhs. And I remember uh, talking with the gentleman there, and I was asking him for some information, on their belief system. He gave me like some booklets or some pamphlets. Man, I started reading it. I was just like, wait a minute. And I mean, I was just looking into it deep, man, just studying. So I found it. It was like each week I went back, whatever the teacher was teaching, I had studied it that week. So then, after reading the information by the Sikhs, looked at some of the Sufi information, and it was the same thing. The next week I went back. Whatever he was presenting, I had studied it that week. Same thing with the Buddhist information and even the Hindu information. I'm just like, okay, man. I was like, okay. So, uh, receiving that information at that time, it actually like, man, it gave me some peace, but also I knew, like, okay, hmm, like I knew the information, like I wanted to share it, but I knew that it was not going to be accepted, and that was just from interactions with the teacher at that time. Like I knew that, and even some of my friends that were there, it was like some of the information. I tried to like, hey man, check this out. This is the same thing he's saying. Like, and I was like, nah, I don't know about that. So anyway, I kept going. I just kept going deeper and deeper. Um, and it was a little while after that, I came to that realization. I was like, okay, so each week, when I read it from this particular background, and I was seeing what he was teaching, but I was just seeing it from a different angle. So I'm just like, man, all right, okay. But like I said, my prayer was to the source, the universal prime creator, like, hey, Like, I need you to show me this. And one prayer, I was like, hey, I need you to teach me. Like, teach me. Let me see this. And I was finding it. I was finding it in different sources. So with that, it eliminated a lot of fear. A lot of fear. Because in a lot of aspects, uh, fear keeps people in their place. Like, it really keeps people in their place. And because of that fear, especially when you're dealing with when you're dealing with a religious belief, that fear will hold people there, man. It will. And they won't even branch out of that. Well, after I was having these experiences and learning so much, I pretty much made my decision. Like, you know what? Okay, it's time for me to leave. Like, I knew that, and just the information I was receiving from the source, I'm like, all right, man, it's time for me to roll up out of here. Well, when I left later that year for my birthday, I was gifted the same books that I just showed y'all. The same books, Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East by Barrett T. Spalding. I was later gifted these books. Well, within the books, they offered the techniques of the Siddha. For divine realization. Man, I dove head first into the techniques, and well, let me tell you about the Siddha. So the word Siddha, which means one who is accomplished, it refers to perfected masters who have achieved a high degree of physical as well as spiritual perfection or enlightenment. The term also refers to liberated souls. Siddhars, Naths, ascetics, sadhus, or yogis. And those titles refer to also liberated souls, and they also refer to teachers. Once these beings become liberated, they actually come back and they teach. And some choose not to come back. Or, some choose not to come back, but a lot of times they will teach, they will perform miracles, they will perform healings in whatever area they're in. But they offered the techniques of the Siddha in the book. So, man, I dove headfirst into the techniques, and I did experience the miraculous. I mean, and now according to the Siddha, this was the natural way of life, like the way life was supposed to flow. Like, that was just as natural as breathing. And I remember, I was putting the energy into it every day. I'd have my meditation. I would do the affirmations and the techniques. And to the Siddha, they're dealing with the I am presence, which is the presence of God in everything. Whether you say God, source, universe, prime creator, the I am, the Christ consciousness, it's dealt with that. And man, when I started like honing in, because when we think of Christ, we think the Christ consciousness is only attributed to Jesus Christ. And that's far from the truth, man. That's attributed to the avatars, the masters, Buddha, Krishna. Nah. Let's check the notes right here. He says Christ consciousness is an awareness of the higher self as part of a universal system. Although it can be interpreted in a number of ways, a common understanding is that the Christ consciousness is a state of consciousness in which a person has found self-realization and unity with God or the divine. It may also be used as a synonym for yogic and Hindu concepts or deep spiritual bliss. Although the Christ consciousness is not intended to relate solely to the personality of Jesus Christ is a combination of Christian language with Eastern religious and philosophical concepts, which make it a controversial term for some. Did y'all hear that? Now, in seeking Christ consciousness, the idea is to transcend physical existence and experience one's own divinity and godlike nature. It is a path of love, peace, harmony, and bliss, which leads to an understanding of omnipresent higher power that connects all beings in the universe. Makes you wonder. Makes you wonder because here in the West, we've only been given one concept when it deals with the Christ or the Christ consciousness, and that relates only to Jesus. So, with me delving into this information, of course, I began to test it. Man, I was testing it all the time. Like I said, discipline with my affirmations, discipline with my meditation. Now, when it says the I am is present in everything, that means everything that is living on this planet, everything has that divine spark in it. So, me and a friend, we went to this bookstore. And I think the spot was in St. Andrews at that time, but it was called the Magic Veil. So, we'd go up in there, we was pretty cool with the owner, and he had books on just about every subject you could think of. He had books in there on it. So we was up in there, and like I said, I had been doing these techniques. These techniques offered in the book by the sitter. Now they got some of the techniques that are just right there in your face, but then once you start getting deeper into the books, some of the information is like kind of hidden. It's like, okay, wait a minute, like you know how you read something, it's like, oh, wait a minute, there's something there, there's a clue there. It's like, oh, man. So I would like highlight stuff. But anyway, this guy had come into the store, and he had a python with him. And the dude was on a motorcycle, man. So he came in, and he's got the python like around his neck. So, man, me and my buddy up in there just looking at books in the store and then, having conversation. So, man, I see the dude come in. So, in my mind, I'm sitting here like, okay, all right. Now, mind you, I did have a fear of snakes. So, when dude rolled up in there with the python, I'm like, So, first thing in my mind, I'm like, yo, all right, God is present in everything. This is what I'm saying to myself in my head. Like, God is present in everything. The I am is in this snake. Like that Christ consciousness that's in there. So, man, let me tell y'all how this played out. So dude comes in, walks in, he's walking around. Now he's asking for the owner at that time, which his name was Jim. I learned a lot of stuff from Jim. Jim was cool dude, cool brother, man. So I learned a lot from Jim. And Jim was in the back. He was working with a client. So the dude was walking around. And when people see a snake wrapped around, everybody kind of stand off. So he like, he gave us the nod, we gave him the nod, so dude walked around. So when he got close to us, my buddy was like, man, I don't know. So I was just standing there kind of like in amusement. So, I kind of looked at the snake, looked at dude, he was like, yeah, I had it for a couple years. So, man, we sitting there. So I'm having a conversation with the guy. So then the guy kind of goes to another section of the store, but then he comes back over there. So when he comes back, the snake is around his neck. So we sitting there talking. So the snake starts to extend her body. She's starting to extend. So she starts to extend her body. So the guy's like, he's like, okay, man, this is kind of strange. Like, she's never done this before. So I said, really? He goes, nah, she don't normally do this, man. I was like, so I held my hand out. So the snake came up my hand, and she started moving up my arm. So my boy is over here, man, and he's like, dude, like, yo, man. I'm like, so I'm sitting here, and as I'm doing this, on the inside, I'm saying to myself, like, all right, this is the I am presence. I'm saying this, like, I ain't not saying it loud, I'm just saying it on the inside. So, man, the snake comes up my arm, goes all the way around, man. Then she gets like right here, and you know how they starting to flicker their little tongue, so she's kind of looking at me, and then she goes around. So the dude was like, "Okay, she don't do this, man. I'm gonna just kind of stand right here to make sure everything." He said, "You okay?" I said, "No, I'm good." So man, the snake went around, and she coiled around my neck, and went to sleep. Well, at this point, I could feel my body vibrating on the inside because with some of the techniques, you would always use the om. So I could hear it internally like om. I could hear this, man. So man, the snake coiled around me and went to sleep. I mean, just gone. So man, the guy was like, okay, like, dude, you sure you're okay? And I'm like, nah, man, I'm good. So Jim, the owner, came out. Him and the guy started talking. So dude was like, you know, man, I'm a kind of hang back. So you know, they went up and they was up near the counter area, and they were just talking. So you know, every now and then he said, no, I'm just checking, man, make sure she's good. I said, no, man, I'm good. So man, I was just sitting there and I had my hand on her, like kind of stroking the snake, like rubbing her and stuff. So I'm just kind of looking around. My boy was like, dude, man, bro, oh man, this cat done moved. Like when I say he moved away from me, he is gone. So the whole time I'm still internally hearing the om inside. So I'm just sitting there, and every now and then the guy look, look back, look back. So he's like, man. So he's all right, man. So he finally came up. I'd probably say about 20 minutes had passed. So like I said, I tell you, I got this internal om going on. It's vibrating. I can feel it. So now the vibrating is actually starting to turn into like heat. I can feel heat like coming off my body, and Snake is just peaceful, man. So dude came over there to get her back, and man, when he went to get her back, she like hissed, like you know, she kind of looked out at him like, whoa. And so man, like I closed my eyes and I calmed myself. And I just spoke to the I am inside the python. I was like, okay. I said, you know, that's your owner. You have to go back to him. This is what I'm saying, man. So I'm like, no, this is your owner. You have to go back to him. Thank you for allowing me to connect with you. This is what I'm talking to this python, man. And man, she starts to let up. And you know, I like stroke her. And she's starting to let up. And she goes back to the dude. He just looking like, dude, like, man, she's never done this. So, I knew, like, because, like I said, I'm studying this information. So I'm like, okay, man, like, okay, this is true. Because, like I tell y'all, like, if you're trying to manifest, you know, you have to prove it to yourself first. So, this was my way of testing the information. Y'all took a look at that now. This is my way of testing the information that I was learning at that time. And no, it wasn't just that. Um, let's see, it wasn't just that. It was also like my dreams became a lot clearer. Man, my spiritual sight just, man, I mean, when I tell y'all like third eye was blazing, it was blazing. I'm talking about, man, I'm going places, man, and you know, like, you know, every now and then you might, if you if you've ever had any type of paranormal experience, you know, you see stuff that's like, well, now it ain't just, it's just like I'm seeing it, like I'm like, oh wow. And the craziest part, like some of the experiences I had, like I would actually see different type of beings, man, and they would be looking at like, yo, how can this dude see us? You know, like, man, like okay, he can see us. So it was experiences like that, but like I said, we go back in the notes. Go back to the beginning. I said, proclaiming that awareness through affirmations and strong thought forms. So that awareness, being aware of your divine potential, being aware of that, being aware of that, that's that presence within you, that I am Christ conscious, whatever you want to call it. That's what that is. So I began to work with that because the presence is there, but when you put your work in, you'll slowly, not even slowly, it happened. Remember, you're the one that's putting the energy into it. The more energy you put into it, the more conscious you become of that presence. So man, I was putting it in. I was putting it in. And man, I was reaping the benefits of it. Oh my gosh, I was reaping the benefits. It's still amazing. It's still amazing. But just beautiful experiences. Beautiful experiences. And also, I said focus, the visualizing, uh, your awareness, and then the discipline. I had to be disciplined to have these experiences. It's just not gonna come by, half-assing it. It don't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Nah. So it doesn't come by half-assing. You actually gotta put some time into it. Like I said, uh, going back, says in seeking Christ consciousness, the idea is to transcend physical existence and experience one's own divinity and God-like nature. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, and this Christ consciousness is not just limited to Jesus as we've been taught. This goes back to Buddha, Krishna, Mahadeva, Shiva, all the masters that have ascended. You mentioned the Siddha, these liberated souls, these teachers. That's what they're experiencing, that divine that is within them. So if you're trying to take it to that next level, then I would say get these books. Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East. Also, there was a book called The 9 Faces of Christ by Eugene Whitworth. Yeah, The 9 Faces of Christ by Eugene Whitworth. Those books, it talks about the path of the initiate. And in that book, you have the initiate that goes and learns from all these masters and teachers of the world, like all over. If anybody there's a book called The Aquarian Gospel of Jesus the Christ, and I would definitely recommend that book because if you read that book, this cat goes and studies from all these different masters from all around the world, and he's learning all these different concepts. But the concepts bring him back home to his divinity that is within. That's what it brings him back home to. So I would definitely recommend that book, The Aquarian Gospel of Jesus the Christ, which is, if you're trying to find out more information than the limited information that's in the Bible, I would definitely say check that book out. The 9 Faces of Christ by Eugene Whitworth, I would definitely say check that book out because he has some information in there about the Siddha. I would definitely say check that out. But those techniques in that book will get you to divine realization. And you may, when I say being aware of your divine potential, also be aware of what you're putting, the energy you're putting into what you're doing, because you'll start to get those synchronicities, those confirmations. You'll get that stuff. You will get it hands down. Like I said, some of the techniques are like right there in the book, like it tells you what to do. And then some of the stuff, like when you start getting deeper in there, it's kind of hidden. It's like, wait a minute, let me highlight this. So I started highlighting stuff. I'm like, oh man, okay. And the synchronicities came when I was studying these books. I'd also get other books of like information. And that's why I mentioned The Nine Faces of Christ by Eugene Whitworth, and I mentioned the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus Christ. And I was having some major experiences with these books. Oh my gosh. Whew. I'm talking about, man, I'm literally seeing seeing like a bubble of light around myself, like a bubble of protection of light around myself, like literally being able to see it. And then like some people I was around at that time, they were able to see it. Like, man, you got this bubble around you, man. Like they could actually see it. So that was beautiful. That was a very beautiful experience at the time, and it continues to be even more beautiful. But yes, um, I've given some serious nuggets tonight, and I would definitely say check out the information, and it's going to help. Trust me. You take them to the next level, and you're trying to manifest, it will happen. And even it's effective prayer manifestation. Like I say, eventually you are going to see that you're answering your prayers. You're answering your prayers, which we are divine beings. We're not supposed to be around here crying out. You're supposed to be manifesting your wildest dreams of things you want. You know, that's why we're here to become what it is said that we are, which we are sparks of the divine. We are gods. So you have to manifest that. But thank you all for listening. Thank you all for tuning in. Once again, this is Coach Scott. Thank you for tuning into the channel once again. I'm glad. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And once again, if you're seeking a coaching session or a consultation, you can hit me at www.lifeisfortheliving.net. Happy holidays. Peace.